Chemical substances. A famous chemist was murdered in his lab. There was no evidence found except for a piece of paper with the names of chemical substances on it. On the day he was murdered, the chemist had only 3 visitors: his wife Mary, his nephew Nicholas, and his friend Jonathan. The police arrested the murderer right away. How did they know who it was? A little hint: pay closer attention to the note. The answer is hidden in the note. This piece of paper had a clue. If you combine the short names of the chemical substances on the paper, you'll get a name: Nicolas. Even dying, this man remained a real chemist. Speaking of chemists, here's one for you. Johnny was a chemist's son, but Johnny is no more, for what he thought was H2O was H2SO4. Which is of course sulfuric. 1. The murder of an aristocrat. George Smith was murdered on Sunday evening. There were 5 other people in his house. Mr. Smith's wife? I'm betting she did it. His personal cook, a butler, a housemaid, and a gardener. They all told Detective Stevens what they were doing that evening. Mrs. Smith was reading a book near a fireplace. The cook was making breakfast. The butler was giving instructions to workers in the living room. The housemaid was washing the dishes. The gardener was watering plants in the greenhouse. Right after all the conversations, the detective arrested the murderer. Who was the killer, and how did Stevens find the criminal? Will you be able to solve this riddle in 15 seconds? If you want more time to consider this case, you can always pause the video. Well, what is your answer? The criminal was the cook. Of course he was, I knew that all the time. The murder was committed in the evening, but he said he was making breakfast. He had to pay more attention to what he was saying. You know what I think? Mrs. Smith paid the gardener to kill her husband because he was having an affair with a housemaid. 2 pills. A serial killer had a particular practice going. He kidnapped people and made them take one of 2 pills. One was harmless, the other was poisonous. Whichever pill a victim took, the serial killer took the other one. Then the scheme repeated itself continuously. Victims took their pills with water and died. The killer repeatedly survived. How did he always get the harmless pill? Good luck, your time has started. Here's the answer. The serial killer was tricking people. The poison was in the glass of water his victims drank, not in the pill. Oh, that stinks. So unfair. Liar. A man told the police that he had come home from work to find his wife's dead body lying in the middle of the parlor. He said she had apparently found his gun in his desk and shot herself. However, the policeman knew at once that the man was lying. How did he know? 15 seconds is all you have to solve this mystery. The policeman noticed that the man had an empty gun holster attached to his belt. It meant he'd either been about to take the gun with him or had it on him all along. The former couldn't be true, because he said he'd come home from work and found his wife dead. That's why we are left with the latter. Not the latter, the latter, which proves that the man had actually shot his wife. Murder at school. On the first day of the school year, a geography teacher was murdered. The police had as many as 4 suspects. They were the gardener, the math teacher, the coach, and even the school principal. Yeah, I vote for the principal. Now the sticking point was that they all had alibis. The gardener was cutting bushes, the math teacher was holding a mid-year test, the coach was playing basketball, the principal was in the office. Despite this, the killer was arrested immediately. Can you guess who killed the geography teacher and how the police solved the mystery? You have 15 seconds to find the killer. The killer was the math teacher. According to his own words, he was holding a mid-year test, but the crime happened on the first day of the school year. He needs to learn how to lie better, don't you think? Friendly murder. Mary and Ben lived with their 4 friends. One day, Ben came home and found Mary dead on a sofa. Bummer. He called the police. The detective arrived and realized that Mary had been killed not so long ago. He interrogated all 4 friends. That's what their stories told. Mia was in the kitchen and said she'd come home 2 hours ago and gone to the kitchen. John was reading a book in the garden. He said he hadn't left the place that day. Jennifer said she had been swimming in a swimming pool for 3 hours. Jane was painting in her room. Unexpectedly, the detective asked everyone to show him their hands and found out who lied to him immediately. That person was the murderer. How did Stevens uncover the criminal? Time is ticking away. Tick-tock. Who do you think the detective was checking? Well, time is out. Here's the answer. Pay attention to the hands of Jennifer. If she had been swimming in the pool for so long, the skin on her palms would have been wrinkled. Oh, Jennifer, your pruny hands gave you away.